3 switches. 35,000 to 90,000 in just 2 years. This switch will take me to 1,20,000 at the least.
So, Aryan, tell me about your career so far.
So I started working as a data analyst at TC Infotech and then later moved to a startup, Bread. And recently I've been working as a decisions analyst associate at a consultancy firm.
So, when are you planning to leave this company?
This was Aryan. Aryan is 22 and has already switched 3 jobs. Aryan is a part of the Gen Z who collectively are bringing down the average job tenure among Indian employees. Nearly 9 out of every 10 surveyed professionals are looking to switch their jobs in 2025, which is very different from the yesteryears where you retired in the same company that you joined as a 20-something. Today, 54% of employees are actively looking for their next opportunity and 34% are not actively looking but will make that switch if they get that opportunity. 48% of employees have already disengaged after 6 months of work only, and the younger the employee, the sooner they switch. When asked, why do you want to switch jobs? The answers looked like this.
Why do you want to switch jobs?
I did not like the culture of my old company.
I want to explore other domains.
Opportunities and to learn new skills.
I want to start my own company, and I think the experience I'm going to gain here will be very valuable.
So, when are you planning to leave this company? Okay, forget that. Let's bring it back. Why did you leave your previous company?
To earn more money.
63% reveal their reason for switching as money. And it seems like a fair expectation. Your average salary increases when switching jobs is shown to be considerably more versus when you stay with your current employer, except that there is a problem that arises with all this excessive job switching that the average job hopper is just not aware of until they have to face this.
Thank you for your time, Aryan, but I can't hire you.
For every Aryan that wants to make just one more switch, there is a hiring manager not wanting to hire him anymore. And sure, money or sometimes brand value or even FOMO might be the prime motivator for all the job hopping, but there is scope for nuance here that most young folks miss, and more importantly, there is a threat to their long-term careers that they are very clearly overlooking. So when is the right time to make a job switch? Should you decide based on your personal needs or market conditions? And how often should you switch jobs? My name is Loveena Kamath, and here's the full disclosure. We're very excited to be a part of the Zerodha Media Network. Together, Zerodha and we will bring you well-researched videos on careers, different industries, and the evolving job market of India. Let me start by stating upfront that this is not a video telling you not to switch jobs at all. That's the other extreme to avoid. This is about how you win the career game long term. Because if you switch jobs every 6 months, you will seem unreliable. And if you stay at the same role for several years without growing, you will definitely be perceived as unskilled. So if you truly want to compound your leverage and success, there is a strategic way to switch jobs and find the correct balance. Let's understand exactly how. First of all, understand that getting a job is a perception game. And there are 2 aspects to this: how the candidate presents themselves and how the employer perceives their candidature. The candidate has the CV or the resume or their LinkedIn profile that paints a picture of them. The employer receives this picture among many others and has to decide which one to buy. Note here that it's not as much about skills at this point as it is about synergy and compatibility. You could have a very good painting, but some other painting might look better on their walls. Anyways, that's just me being unnecessarily metaphorical. So it all comes down to this: the story that the candidate is presenting and the metrics that the company values. In most cases, it is loyalty, but I'll come to that later. Let me start with the candidate's perspective. Well, every job that you take up has to be able to help you learn, earn, or upturn. By learn, I mean the job should be able to teach you industry skills that you otherwise might not get. Like, you could practice your SQL queries with dummy data, but sifting through actual messy data to derive insights is a skill you learn only on the job. Similarly, with all other profiles, be it sales, marketing, or even HR. Next, the job should help you earn. And I don't mean just any amount of money for your service provided. It should be a sum that helps you pay rent, have 3 meals, and then save some. Any amount below that means the job is not helping you earn. And of course, your minimum acceptable threshold should increase as you gain more years of experience and your standard of living increases. And finally, the job should help you upturn. We mentioned the learn, earn, upturn framework in our negotiation video as well, and a lot of you were confused as to what it meant. So upturn is a leverage that specific company could provide you. It could be a networking opportunity, the tag of a brand like Google, or a very specific skill set that only that particular company can provide you. So now think of this framework like a game where you can actually accumulate points on each pillar. There will be roles like the ones at large MNCs where you may earn decent but won't get a lot of upturn or learning opportunities. Then there could be a role at a startup where you may or may not earn a lot, but you will definitely learn at a super fast rate. Or you could work at Google where you'll definitely get all 3 and free food. Your goal as you switch jobs should be to increase the total of the 3 pillars. But as you continue to switch jobs through your career, there emerges a pattern on your resume which the employer is keenly observing. For the employer, the framework is slightly different. They look for skills, definitely, be it managerial or technical, which corresponds to the employee's learn pillar. Then they look for cost, the price for which they can get you, and the lower the cost, the better your candidature. This corresponds to your earn pillar. Do you notice at this stage that as you try to maximize your earn column, you start becoming more and more undesirable to the business? It'll be important later. The third pillar that most candidates overlook but the employer looks out for is the number of years you stay with the company on average. Or for lack of a better term, your loyalty. And they have very good reasons to do so. Your career history should paint a positive picture to the employer, and each switch of yours should communicate an intention, a motivation. It cannot be random because that is a massive red flag for the employer. The hopper usually ignores all of this and keeps maximizing just one column for themselves, which is the earn column, which bloats their price way above the market rate, while ignoring their learn column or the skills column for the employer, all the while making these switches so frequently that eventually they start to lose their credibility points. Switching jobs too often can make it harder for employers to take your profile seriously. At the end of the day, landing a job comes down to 2 things: how you present yourself and how your application is received. Whether you're a designer, a marketer, or in any field, a well-crafted personal website will set you apart from the crowd. And that's where Odoo, our sponsor for today, comes in. With Odoo's website builder, you can quickly make your professional portfolio or your digital resume with no coding, no hassles, just direct results. With Odoo, you can build a sleek, mobile responsive portfolio in minutes. Just choose your business type and objective, pick a color palette, choose the pages and features you want, and select a theme, and let AI generate a layout tailored to your industry. Want to tweak the design? The intuitive drag and drop editor gives you complete creative control, just like a professional designer would. You can customize text, add images, animate your elements, and do so much more with just the website builder. And here's the best part. Your first Odoo app is free for life, including unlimited hosting and support. Plus, you get a free domain name for an entire year so you can establish your professional brand without worrying about extra costs. With built-in SEO tools, free high-resolution images from Unsplash, and AI-powered content suggestions, Odoo ensures your website looks polished and gets noticed. Whether you're looking for a job, building a freelance career, or simply creating an online presence, Odoo helps you put your best foot forward effortlessly. Check out the link in the description and pinned comment to get started with Odoo today. Now back to the video.
But can you at least let me know what the reason is so that I can improve?
Being a job hopper or being perceived as a job hopper is essentially the same problem, that of credibility. And you need to solve it for 2 people, your potential employer so they can take that bet on you, and yourself so you don't push yourself into a corner. When the employer is looking for the number of years, there is a very good reason for it. Like mentioned earlier, your resume is their only window to your relevance for the role. And if you're a job hopper, your resume will look something like this.
This scene here is just for dramatic purposes, by the way. There's usually never an interview or such long conversations. I'll take just one look at the resume and decide. And most times I won't even see any resume. ATS is going to do that for me.
What this communicates to the employer is that you're overpriced for your skill level.
You have probably not accumulated enough skills to begin with.
Because you don't stick with the role long enough to learn anything.
And you'll most likely do the same here. Why should I hire you?
At the start of your career, you're expected to perform repetitive, operational, and low-stakes tasks. This is universally true. At this stage, it's still fine if you've made a couple switches. That's forgiven generally. Maybe the candidate was trying to find his footing.
I was still exploring at that time.
And you're still exploring.
But something changes after the initial few years. You're expected to step up into managerial and strategic roles. Roles which require experience of working in a team. Experience which is a function of the time spent at a company. Every time you switch jobs too quickly, you risk being seen as unreliable. Future employers may hesitate to give you responsibilities, worried that you will not stick around long enough to see the projects through. It's not just about the skills you gain, it's about the trust you build over time. Real mastery comes from seeing a project through from start to finish. But when you hop jobs, you get only a slice of each role. You miss out on building deep expertise and don't have the chance to work closely with mentors who could guide you to your next level. The candidate being at the lowest hierarchical level at the time may not realize it then, but their new employer does that.
There's no way he knows how to manage a team. Because I'm pretty sure his previous company didn't trust him with that. After what? Just 5 months.
On top of that, the candidate will have bloated their salary above market rates. The market is to be blamed for that to some extent because there was an oversupply of candidates and a lot of cash was available to be spent on it. And now you find people unable to land their next job because they don't want to take a pay cut because they're used to the higher salary now, and employers on the other side are reluctant to hire. At that point, employers are faced with a choice: to get someone from outside with less experience and a higher pay, or to look inwards and see who can match up to the responsibilities and be cheaper than the bloated salary guy. Who do you think they're going to choose?
Tell me, Aryan, would you date a girl who's had 3 partners in 2 years?
That is the employer's perspective. But there are very good reasons why you should stick around for 2 to 3 years at least at a company for your own growth.
But I promise you, I'm a great performer and I'll be a good fit in your team.
How do I know that?
Number 1, context of skills. When you've worked with a team for long, they have a much better context of your skills and how you can add to the team. Your new employer simply won't know that. And you have to start from scratch to re-establish that context and trust.
I know Python, I know SQL, I know Tableau, and I'm the quickest with creating any decks.
How long will you do that? I need someone to manage my team.
Number 2, your actual skills. Goes without saying that real skill accumulation starts to happen when the boring, manual, repetitive tasks are behind you. And it's sort of an unsaid rule and actually common sense that for any candidate to actually start experiencing the insides of an industry, it starts to happen after a year. If you leave before that, you will very likely join at the same level with the new company. And a little unobvious is cost of migration. Moving cities or even moving within the same city has many invisible costs that cannot be offset by the minor hikes you accumulate, especially when you've not given enough time in your job to let the hike actually accumulate into something substantial.
Let me ask you something. Do you like where you live? Comfortable? You made friends in office.
I do.
Still you're sitting here.
Number 4, the mental cost of starting fresh. Figuring out a new city, new house, new colleagues and their quirks, new work environment, their culture. Some people really thrive on new experiences, which could be great. But regardless, this initial phase really does impede your ability to learn long term. And every time you make a switch, you reset this progress while simultaneously burning all bridges and goodwill of your team and managers that actually become very crucial in the later parts of your career. A word of caution here, I know all of the reasons I listed might sound like sunk cost fallacy, but it's important to balance these costs well before planning your next switch.
Your switches make no sense. They are random and there is no growth. You started your career as an analyst and you're still applying here as an associate.
But what should I have done?
So, what should Aryan have done? If Aryan had valid reasons to switch jobs, he could have still defended his case. There's a way to go about it that does not hurt your credibility.
If you keep switching at the same level, even if you're switching every 2 years, what does that tell me?
That I might be unexperienced and unskilled.
There are two games to be played early on in the career. Either you hike your pay by moving laterally into the same role or move vertically at the same pay but at a higher designation. If you could get both, that's best, but your goal should always be to move upwards in at least one. So if at any point it starts to feel like there is no growth happening, either your personal growth or even the company's growth is halted, that might be a good indication to start packing your bags. What's a fair time period to assess that? I'd say at least 12 months. Culture is another big contributor as well as a valid reason to make a switch. Some companies can get very inefficient and by extension a toxic workplace, and you could make a switch then. But it can't be too frequent either. You can explain it to your interviewer once, but not multiple times.
At least if I could see that you were trying to rectify a domain mismatch, still be okay with it. But all three of your previous roles have literally been the same.
The other acceptable reason to the employer could be domain mismatch. And it happens a lot in India. You might want to pursue something, you get pushed by the education system, parents, or the market into a totally different role. And if your switches reflect that you're trying to fix that, that's a good response. Always have a mental pros-cons matrix in your head to inform if it's time to switch. If your job is net positive in your life, it could be adding skills, financial security, and friendships, stay for longer at that job. If not, and if after considering everything, a switch seems like the most logical step, here's how to do it. Consider this a dummy's guide to switching jobs. Step 1, get a job. Goes without saying, but if you're lucky to be watching this video as a college student, you can start your career in the right industry, in a market that's in demand, and in a role of your interest, as it will save you precious years trying to make that switch. If you find yourself stuck in the wrong domain or role, your first switch should happen in 1 to 2 years to correct this misalignment and set up the foundation to a long, successful career. But be sure that you know for sure that you want a domain pivot, because if you then find yourself wanting to come back to the same domain, you're not only wasting your time, but also hurting your credibility. Switch 2. If you were in the correct industry, a switch can occur after 2 to 3 years to switch to the company that pays the highest for your role. Any sooner than that, and you again run the risk of being considered unreliable. That way, you also establish credibility when you've worked with the best. It's essentially given that you must have picked up enough skills by now. Important point, the health of your company will determine how comfortably they might pay you. Switch 3. Move to a better designation in 1 to 3 years after your second switch. Aim for that designation promotion now. Switch 4. Move to middle management in strategy and head of department. It's important to show 2 to 3 years of stability in the previous job before you make this switch. Exceptions will be there. Some will rise faster and skip a few levels, and some will fall short. Everything is permissible as long as you have a solid answer to back it up. This is more of a loose guide, and it's fine to move with your career at your own pace. One final piece of advice. Most people overlook this, but you can actually be open and upfront with your current employer and have conversations around your growth, and you'll really be surprised at just how receptive most companies would be to that, especially high growth startups with less hierarchy and bureaucracy. Indian employees are anyways more likely to ask for a pay raise and promotion than our global counterparts, so you might as well do that first before planning that big switch.
So, I can't hire you, Aryan. Your resume screams job hopper. You've exhausted your hikes, you're overpriced for the market, and I'm afraid most companies will have the same opinion. You may try to prove me wrong and test the market, and maybe you'll get lucky, but Aryan, you should start playing the long-term game now, wherever you go. My advice, you just prove your worth at VS Associates and ask for a raise there first. Maybe we'll meet you a few years down the line. Yeah? Good luck.
That was all from our side. My name is Loveena Kamath, and this was your full disclosure. If you think you're creative and want to make videos like this, you should check out AV's Video Mastery Cohort. Even if you've never made a video before, no editing skills, no production experience, do not worry. They will take you from the absolute basics of video editing, motion design, and production, all the way to making something like the video you're watching right now entirely on your own. They've even got a dedicated module on generative AI for content, Not just some surface level overview, but a deep dive into how AI is changing content creation and how you can actually use these tools to boost your creativity, speed up your workflow, and stand out as a modern creator or video editor. The best part? They're hosting a free video editing masterclass where you can get a sneak peek of the entire program. And if you like the videos we make at Full Disclosure, I would love to have you in our team. If you're a researcher who can help us break down complex topics into entertaining and easy to understand explainers, a writer crazy enough to recreate scenes like these, a motion graphic wizard and an editor to stitch the craziness we shoot into a comprehensive and visually appealing video, send us your profile and work sample from the link in the description, and if you get hired, we hope to see you soon.